The GLA is the starting point for Mercedes SUV ownership, and in this much improved first generation form, it's as classy as you'd expect a premium C-segment family hatch-based crossover model ought to be from the Stuttgart brand. Thorough engineering borrowed from the Mercedes A-Class means that there's plenty to like beyond the badge, primary selling points focusing upon quality and efficiency. In short, it's a car that suits its fashion-conscious segment.
On the move, this GLA has a softer damping setup than the Mark III model A-Class hatch it's based on, thanks to the off-road comfort suspension package that's fitted to all the mainstream models. Through the corners, body rolls decently controlled, and the rather vague steering masks greater reserves of traction than you might expect. That's particularly if you've got yourself a model with 4MATIC four-wheel drive, which can send up to 50% of the engine's power to the rear wheels whenever they need it. Most versions of this car come with selectable driving modes. Now, Mercedes calls its system Dynamic Select, and as usual, it's one of those ones that will appropriately tweak the steering feel, the throttle response, and on the automatic models, the gear shift timings to suit the way that you want to drive. You'll be wanting to know about engines. Most GLA buyers will want the 2.1 litre diesel we're trying here, probably in its base 136 HP state of tune, which returns 67.3 mpg on the combined cycle and 110 grams per kilometre. That's for a front-driven model, which comes with manual or auto gearbox options. If you want your GLA 200D with 4MATIC four-wheel drive, then you have to have it with automatic transmission. Now today we're trying the 2.1 litre engine in the 177 HP state of tune that you get with the GLA 220D. That's a derivative that only comes in 4MATIC auto form. There are petrol options too, and they start with a 1.6 litre GLA 200 variant that offers 156 HP. It has manual or auto gearbox options, and it's front driven only. Beyond that, the performance level rises substantially with a couple of 2 litre 4MATIC auto derivatives. There's a 211 HP GLA 250 and a startlingly quick Mercedes-AMG GLA 45 with 381 HP. A small but subtle change of emphasis has taken place here. In its original form, the GLA looked a little bit like one of those rather half-hearted attempts that some manufacturers make at the compact crossover concept, a family hatch with a few SUV hormones thrown in. This facelifted version isn't much different, but the changes made here have been enough to give it more visual credibility as a fully fledged SUV, albeit a very mild, fashion-orientated one. Let's take a seat up front. Now it's a higher perch than you'll get in a comparable A-Class, thanks to that slightly loftier ride height, but other rivals do seat you more commandingly. Otherwise, the cabin architecture is very similar to a third generation A-Class, which means yet another interior inspired from the world of aviation, with your eye immediately drawn to the 5 circular air vents. They're styled to resemble jet engines and finished in cool touch electroplated metal trim. The 3 grouped in the centre of the fascia sit below what remains a rather unusual touch, this freestanding central media display. It looks a bit like an iPad that's been bolted onto the upper part of the centre console as something of an afterthought. Actually though, it is a fully integrated infotainment system that offers its media connectivity via a tablet style screen, which is 8 inches in size, provided you avoid entry-level trim. Time to take a seat in the back. Knee room is quite limited compared to what you get in, say, an X1 or a Q3, but legroom isn't too bad by class standards, although you'll have hardly any if you find yourself in the middle of the bench, a position that's compromised by this prominent centre transmission tunnel. So let's have a look in the boot now. The heavily styled rear light clusters do necessitate a rather narrow opening, but once the hatch powers up, you'll find 481 litres of space. And in summary, well, every compact SUV in this class claims to take the concept of sense and sensibility and add to it something of an adventurous streak. This GLA does that too, but with a bit of extra polish. We can see why you might like it.